Did you know that many legendary mangaka created their best work after their first series? Yoshihiro Togashi's Yu Yu Hakusho was a hit, but Hunter x Hunter took his storytelling to another level. Tokihiko Inoue went from slam dunk to the masterpiece that is Vagabond. Even Tatsuki Fujimoto leveled up from Fire Punch to Chainsaw Man. So what makes a mangaka's second attempt so much better? That's exactly what I'm trying to figure out, because I'm making my second manga. If you remember my last manga video, I said I'd only do this again if we hit 500 likes, and somehow we got 4,000. This time, I'm entering the Silent Manga Awards, where the challenge is to tell a story with 0 dialogue. Last time, I crammed in way too much text because I ran out of both time and pages, but now I get to focus purely on the art. Oh, and the stakes are way higher. The grand prize is 500,000 yen, which is about 4,500 Canadian dollars. Plus, there's also a masterclass, an artist village invitation, publication on a manga app, and a feature in Monthly Comic Zenon. Or is it Xenon? I don't know. Now that I got some experience, a bigger prize, and thousands of people pushing me to continue, I have no excuses but to try my best. A lot of people say that telling a story without dialogue is harder, but I couldn't disagree more. Sure, dialogue helps provide context, but I think what makes dialogue-free storytelling so powerful is its universal appeal. Anyone can feel it, anyone can relate to it. Some of the most unforgettable moments in media happen in complete silence, just pure, raw action. Whether it's the explosive payoff of a 700-chapter rivalry or the quiet intensity of a romantic encounter, these moments hit different. They give me goosebumps. For my next manga, I want to push that same emotional weight. No words, just pure feeling. With rage as the theme of this competition, my goal isn't just to show anger, but to make you feel it too. I want you to step into my character's world, to understand their pain, their sorrow, and the slow burning fury that builds with every moment. If I can make you live their emotions, if you feel that rage deep in your bones, then I'll know I've done my job. Before I begin, there are 3 key areas I want to improve from my last manga. Strengthening the storytelling to make the narrative more compelling, incorporating more detailed backgrounds to enhance the world building, and elevating my artistic skills. While I had some cool panels, I know I can push myself to do even better. Just like last time, I don't want to create a brand new character just for this manga. Instead, I'd rather explore one of my existing OCs. Since I previously focused on Walkaria, I want to shine a light on another character's backstory. For the theme of rage, I was torn between Dumra and Louise. Dumra being constantly angry seemed like a perfect fit, but the truth is, I still don't know enough about them yet. So instead, I'm choosing Louise, a character whose origins are just as intense, if not more. Louise was actually created by accident. It all started with a creepy Halloween drawing, which later inspired a full-fledged character. As I connected the pieces, I came up with the idea that the eerie, demonic old woman in that drawing was actually Louise in the future. Fire had always been a key element surrounding her, and I knew I wanted to incorporate that into her story. Later on, when I developed more of my main OCs, I gave each of them a spirit mask, symbolizing their connection to a larger, unseen force, all except Kyoko, since she's a spirit herself. Louise's mask, however, was unique. I based it off of her older form. The idea was that over time, if she relied on the mask's power too much, it could eventually fuse with her skin. For this manga, I want to tell the story of how it all began. How Louise first discovered the mask, how she unlocked its fire-wielding abilities, and what pivotal moment set her on the path to becoming something far more dangerous. This is the story of her descent, the spark that ignites her rage. Louise's story begins with a cold winter night. as she lights a fire for warmth when a freezing deer seeks refuge beside her. The next morning, she wakes up to find a deer gone, and she decides to follow its tracks, stumbling upon an ancient abandoned temple. Inside, she discovers a mysterious mask imbued with fire-wielding power. Beneath the mask, a weathered stone tablet inscribed with the instructions for its use. Yet, the final lines are shattered, lost to time. Unfazed, Louise takes the mask and leaves with the deer, unaware of the ominous price waiting to be paid. As she experiments with her new powers, more animals gather around her fire. But one by one, they begin to disappear. The mask itself slowly transforms, taking on a sinister shape as time passes. Louise ends up growing pretty attached to the deer, her only remaining companion and friend, but wakes up one morning to find it missing again. But this time, the tracks in the snow are joined by something else. Blood. Grabbing the mask, she rushes into the blizzard, desperate to find her friend, but exhaustion takes over, and she collapses in the snow. What happens next? Well, you'll have to watch until the end of the video to find out. Now, I just needed a title that truly captured the essence of my manga. Something striking, memorable, and natural in conversation. I knew I wanted to highlight either fire or the mask, since they're core elements of the story. Early on, I came up with Tears of Ash, inspired by the idea of Louise crying while her tears slowly turned to ash. But as time went on, the name started to feel kind of underwhelming. Like, it didn't quite do the story justice. So I decided to go back to the drawing board and find a better title, but that wouldn't happen for a long time. For now, I was off to a great start. I had a fully fleshed out story a whole month before the deadline, and I had already started drawing the first panel. Naturally, it was one of the most detailed ones near the end. No surprise there. But here's where I completely sabotaged myself. With the holidays wrapping up, traveling back to Ottawa, and juggling a million other life responsibilities, my manga got pushed aside for 2 whole weeks. And just like last time, I was left with only 2 weeks to finish. I have no idea how this keeps happening. Considering I wanted to step up the quality this time, I knew these next 2 weeks would be even tougher than my last video. And spoiler alert, it was. Last time, I focused so much on the final panels that the beginning of my story felt rushed, so this time, I made sure to develop the first few panels first, ensuring a consistent and well-paced narrative. I didn't want any part of my story to feel rushed like before. One thing that really helped keep my character design consistent was sketching her outfit on a separate page and using it as a reference throughout. This small step made a huge difference in maintaining detail and cohesion across the manga. I also wanted to improve how I drew my characters in a chibi style. Last time I skipped backgrounds entirely due to time constraints, which made the quality fluctuate a lot. This time I was determined to keep everything visually consistent, and I think I pulled it off. I also added a super detailed shot like those old SpongeBob episodes. Surprisingly, I ended up with a few funny scenes because of this, and it was completely by accident. And if you're still watching, comment a mask emoji. Thanks! With just 13.5 days left before the deadline, I had finished 3.5 pages, and among them was one of my favorite panels. It's the moment Louise, completely exhausted from searching for the deer, finally collapses. I especially love how the tree trunk's roots seamlessly weave into different panels, subtly framing a sleeping lumberjack. He's clearly visible, yet easy to overlook if your focus is on Louise in the distance, exactly as intended. The path of blood leads directly to her, guiding the viewer's eyes towards her silhouette. In the bottom right panel, the lumberjack appears again, standing in the snowy background, blending in just enough to go unnoticed at first. But in the bottom left panel, his face is finally revealed. His unsettlingly cheerful and excited expression contrasting sharply with the unconscious Louise grosses me out, and hopefully you feel the same. I intentionally gave him that uncanny, almost too friendly look because I find that the most unsettling characters are the ones who appear harmless but hide something sinister behind their smile. From the start, the lumberjack gives off an eerie vibe. There are no trees around him, only a landscape littered with stumps, hinting at something deeply unsettling. This unease is amplified on the next page, where he carries Louise to his cabin. Once surrounded by a dense forest, the area is now nothing but emptiness. Inside, he serves her a bowl of soup. His unsettling grin makes you immediately question what's inside. But my favorite detail, beneath the table, a figure resembling the lumberjack is subtly hidden. His hat, disguised as a flower pot on the tabletop, actually serves as one of the table's legs. At first glance, it seems normal, but the more you look, the more you realize the table has no visible legs at all. This is when the project started to take a serious toll on me. I was going to bed at 4 AM at the earliest. With only 7 days left, I had barely finished 8 pages, meaning I still had 8 more to go. That meant finishing more than 1 page per day just to have a chance at submitting on time. At that point, I wasn't sure if I could make it, but after all the effort I had put in, there was no way I was going to let this project go to waste by not finishing it. Another panel I really loved was the moment Louise follows the deer into the woods and stumbles upon an ancient temple. I designed the temple to have a racially ambiguous statue-like structure, giving it a traditional, almost tribal feel, something that could belong to African, Asian, or indigenous cultures. Meanwhile, the interior carries hints of Egyptian and Roman influence, making the entire space feel mysterious and steeped in forgotten history. I've always been fascinated by different cultures, drawing inspiration from multiple sources to create something unique. Growing up surrounded by people from all over the world only deepened that passion, shaping the way I approach storytelling, aesthetics, and character design. Oh, and if you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing. 99% of you watching aren't subscribed, and these videos take a ton of time and effort. Your support truly means the world to me, and it helps me to keep making more content like this. If you'd like to be part of that journey, I'd love to have you here. But let's get back to one of the most exciting pages I had to work on, which was the moment Louise's mask shatters near the end, releasing all of its spiritual energy directly into her. This was her Gon moment. Completely consumed by rage, ready to incinerate anyone who dared to harm her loved ones. I was especially proud of how I used my brushes to enhance the intensity of the scene. The glowing eyes and mouth as she quickly turns her head create the eerie, almost otherworldly presence, making it clear that something inside her has completely snapped. Then, in the next panel, as she reaches for her enemy, you can feel the sheer power radiating from her, as if the very air around her is burning. This entire sequence was one of my favorites to illustrate, and I can't wait for you to see the end result with the other pages. The final day had arrived and I had been awake for over 24 hours, furiously drawing in a desperate race against the deadline. What should have been a manageable final stretch had spiraled into absolute chaos. Not only had I failed to get ahead like I originally planned, but somehow I ended up with 3 extra pages I hadn't accounted for. Confused? Yeah, so was I. Turns out I needed an additional page to fully tell the story. Completely fine in theory, except the limit was 17 pages, and I was already struggling to finish 16. So in a moment of sheer brilliance, or madness, I gave myself even more work at the last second. Now, with only 12 hours left and a page and a half still unfinished, I was running on fumes. But no matter how exhausted I was, quitting just wasn't an option. One of the final pages I worked on showed the animals slowly disappearing one by one as the fire grew larger and the mask twisted into a more demonic form. I wanted the progression to feel eerie, subtle at first, then unmistakable, as Louise remained unaware of what was happening around her. Compared to my first manga, I think I handled the time skip sequence sequence much better, making each panel flow more naturally. But with so many details packed into vertical panels, some of the visuals, especially the fire, ended up obscuring key elements. At any other time, I would have obsessed over fixing it, but after pushing myself to the limit, perfection was the last thing on my mind. Then, just as I was about to hit submit, I realized something crucial. I never settled on a title. In a last-minute scramble, I skimmed through my manga hoping for a spark of inspiration, and then it clicked. The Mask of Ashes. It perfectly captured the essence of the story while subtly mirroring my last manga, Mirror's Mind. In that moment of panic, I knew it was the one. Somehow, through sheer exhaustion and adrenaline, I managed to submit it with only 20 minutes to spare. After the late nights, stress, and countless hours spent bringing the story to life, I can finally share the full version with you. So sit back, take it all in, and I hope you enjoy. I'm honestly so happy with how this turned out. Looking back, I really feel like I accomplished the 3 goals I set at the start of the video, especially improving my art quality and keeping it consistent throughout. I'm grateful this was a speechless competition, because if I had to worry about writing dialogue too, there's no way it would have turned out as well as it did. And as exhausting as this process was, I've come to realize something weird. I actually enjoyed making it. Even if it turns me into a sleep-deprived drawing zombie, I had fun drawing this manga. Since my characters are all connected through mirrors and masks now, I just need to flesh out my world a bit more. And I think the perfect character to bring both elements together is my first OC, Tukta. So if I ever make another manga, it'll be just for me. No competition, no deadlines, so I can fully bring my vision to life without feeling rushed. It'll probably take a few months to complete, but I want to make something truly special and really make each panel a work of art. But if you guys want to see a third manga all about Tukta, let's set a real challenge. Last time I asked for 500 likes, which you guys absolutely destroyed. So this time let's aim for 5,000 likes. If we hit that, I'll make it happen. Let's see if you guys want this just as much as I do. And thank you so much to everyone who left such kind comments on my last video. I can't even put into words how much it means to me to know that I've inspired so many of you. Lastly, I want to give a huge thank you to my mom for being part of the Wimo squad. It really means the world to me. If you'd like to be featured at the end of my videos, see my work in progress pieces, or even get one-on-one art advice, feel free to join. And if you'd like to support me in another way, simply liking and subscribing helps more than you know. Anywho, have yourselves a lovely day. Bye.